Hey everyone, Cleve here, creator of Micro Salon System and the Rent A Chair Academy, the first and still the only system approved by the Australian Tax Office and that complies with each hairdressing award in each state of Australia. Now, in the next 12 or so minutes, I want to explain a story that will briefly go through how this system works, how I managed to get it legalized, and how it continuously netted me $3,000 a week. And I'm going to actually show you how you can do the same. Now, before I get started, and to save you some time, keep watching this only if you're you're a salon owner or thinking of opening a salon, or B, you're fed up with losing money on those chairs that are sitting empty, right? Just look around you now if you're in your salon. Or C, your stylist cost you more money than they generate. Ouch! Or maybe you just want to embrace a new way of doing business and start making some real money from those empty chairs in your salon. Now, you're probably thinking, Cleve, don't you know that there's, the Hairdressing Award prevents rent a chair or booth rental or, subcontracting, and especially in states like South Australia, West Australia, and Queensland in particular. And the answer is yes, I do. In fact, nobody really knows that more than I do, and I'll explain in a minute. But it's a bit of a myth, and before I bust that myth right open, I want to share how I became the first salon in Australia to get approval to operate a micro salon or rent a chair. Now, it goes like this. About 12 years ago, I had a pretty pumping business and a great career. Apart from being a mover and shaker in the Australian and Asian salon industry, I also was one of the most awarded stylists in the country. I'd won multiple awards, like the Schwarzkopf State Stylist of the Year Award, Hair Expo Excellence in Salon Marketing, the Best New Salon Design at Hair Expo as well, and I was also a finalist at Hair Expo for Hairdresser of the Year, I think maybe even a few times. Anyway, I was a pretty busy platform artist and educator and session stylist for the likes of Goldwell and Schwarzkopf and Redken and Weller and all those kind of guys. So I owned and operated a couple of the most beautiful salons in Australia and Beijing. And for fun, I even had my own collection of hair care. Like, why not, right? So you could say things were going pretty good. Had a buzzing career, a thriving business, and an uber famous client list. However, there was something that was looming. There was a business issue that this country had back then, and for those that were around may remember this, but the country was about to go to hell in a handbasket and take what I believe this industry with it. And it was around 2000 and 2001. We took a big hit in this country. GST was introduced, Ansett Airlines went belly up, and Australia was in a state of absolute anxiety as an election was looming. And some moron in the West Australian government changed our late night trading from Thursday to Friday, taking away the biggest moneymaker day of the week for us. So anyway, the compounding effects of these four critical changes in business in that landscape literally blew my business up, and I don't mean in like the good kind of blow up. So in no time, I was hemorrhaging around about $3,000 to $4,000 a week, and in my efforts to sort of keep the business going, I'd become a slave to the salon and the actual business itself, and pretty much slugging it out from behind the chair each week, trying to cover the expenses, all the while falling behind in GST, rent, and superannuation. So in essence, the traditional salon business model of employer-employee no longer made sense. In fact, it didn't even make any dollars. And I'd watched countless friends pretty much go through the same thing around the same time and ever since. So I just think there was a big shift in the way that we made money out of this industry. And the essence of this problem, I think, is as real today. I don't think it's gone away. The ratio of, profit and making money out of this industry just blew right apart right there, and it's never been the same again. Now, one thing though I do know, if I could have maximized the space in my salons by generating cash from the chairs that had sat empty, I think I could have made it. And the question for you that I have right now is, how many chairs sit dormant in your salon on a daily basis? And what is it like shelving out the wage bill on those weeks of like just after Christmas or when everyone else is like on vacation? So that's usually when you're behind the chair covering the tail end of everybody else. Or how does it feel when you're paying the same wage when half your staff are off sick and or when business is kind of like on off peak? So I know it's sort of soul destroying. So to cut a long story short, I pretty much hit the deck. My business went belly up, and in a 24-hour period, I'd lost my 2 beautiful salons, my reputation, my toys, and even my 4-week-old inner city apartment. Everything just gone. That night, I put a sign on the front door of my salons and walked out of the last traditionally operated salon I would ever own. Now, the next day, I woke flat broke, minus 18 staff. Well, that actually wasn't so bad. I mean, I love them and all, but that was pretty expensive. And I was down 2 salons. Now, with nothing to lose at this point, it became easier to take the risk I wish I'd taken years ago. I decided to run a micro salon and rent out chairs. The overall concept was pretty simple, I thought. Collect cash each week for the rental of chairs and stop worrying about how I personally was going to do enough cuts and colours to actually cover wages and pay bills. That was the premise, pretty simple. So, with a $4,000 loan, a trip to IKEA with a beautiful client and very generous friend of mine, and some help with my family, we built my new micro salon in just 1 week. And I then convinced a few of my former employees to become renters. After all, they just become unemployed, so that wasn't too hard. And then with pretty much in the next week, we opened Macmillan's, and now a Rent A Chair Salon, and I'd resurrected the business from its death, literally. I think I can say that word literally in this context. Anyway, so here was my plan. As I said, collect enough cash from the stylist in form of rent, and use that cash to actually run the business. Then I had this plan to actually keep whatever I had actually generated to myself. Now, I don't know about you, but as a salon owner, it was soul destroying having to pay out all that hard-earned cash of my own to keep the doors open and keep the sort of business growing, and especially to sort of make those wages of those sort of less productive stylists, especially the new ones. So now you're gonna like this. At the end of the first week, I had the biggest boom, it was the biggest aha moment I think of almost my career. I couldn't believe my eyes. It, being this micro salon model, actually worked. Now, that week I personally generated $3,000 in cuts and colours myself. I got paid, I'm talking people gave me money. It was coming in, not going out. $1,200 in the form of rent from my stylist. Now, the math was pretty simple for me. That week, my outgoings was about $1,200. I'd completely downsized this business. It was beautiful. So for the first time in my life, I got to keep all to myself what I had generated for me, which was $3,000. Now, I'd run plenty of salons, plenty of businesses, and if you're a salon owner, that you don't always get to keep what you generate. You might make it in revenue, but by the time you pay your taxes and you do all those things, excuse me, it's like that stuff just flies out the window. So while I was so thrilled to do this week over week over week, I was still a little pissy that I actually didn't pull the trigger and do this years ago. However, in the 2 weeks, I'd gone from consistently losing $3,000 a week to making $3,000 a week, and this was crazy. So very rewarding as it was, and extremely liberating. It gave me the confidence again to embark on my next mission, and that was, how could I make this system legal? So I thought, I got some friends together and built what I believe was the A team, and a team of super professionals that could help me tackle the powers that be, and we know who they are, and basically get this thing legalized. So now this A team was built up of the likes of one of Australia's most accomplished, I suppose, even famous barristers, a government solicitor who had been specialising in the West Australian Royal Commission at the time. I'd gone to a law firm that specialised in industrial relations, and also my regular accountant, and I had an advisor from the Small Business Development Centre to top it off, a specialist from the Australian Taxation Office. So we collectively pulled apart the Hairdressing Awards in each state of Australia, and over the following months we all kept coming up with the same notion, and that was, if I could find a way to shift the traditional employer-employee contract to that of a landlord-tenant, then wouldn't the governing effects of the Hairdressing Award become redundant? And that's what we did. So we found a way to do just that. 11 months later, $10,000 of my hard-earned money from standing behind the chair, and that was in legal fees, accounting fees, and all that sort of stuff. We, as in the A team, presented our first version of the Micro Salon Rent A Chair business model to the Australian Taxation Office, and they loved it. Absolutely gobbled it up. Got approval on the first application because it was a killer application. So it was official. I'd become the first salon owner, that was, in Australia to be granted full anonymity from the traditional bindings of any state hairdressing award. Now, after a little celebration, I was about to set out on what I want to do as another mission, and that was, how could I then bring this to you guys? How could I make this available to those people who wanted to take back control of their own lives, and also their own businesses and their own sense of revenue and income? So I built a very small website, and it came to life. And ever since, I've been helping countless salon owners all over Australia, just like yourself, use and get approval from the Australian Taxation Office to operate this system. And not only that, improve the quality of their life and actually have a life on so many levels. So my question to you right now is, one, are you going to keep plugging away and slugging it out from behind the chair to cover the cost of everyone else's wages at your own expense? Or two, maybe you could build your own A team, spend your own $10,000 to kind of replicate what I've done. Good luck. Three, just get this system and begin a new life making money as a landlord rather than an employee handing out cash and hard-earned cash each week. So if you're thinking, Cleve, but why would I want to do any of this when I can just operate a Rent A Chair Salon on my own? I don't need all this stuff. And it's like, well, because you need a special private tax ruling to bypass the traditional employer obligations, and not having one will get you busted by the Australian Taxation Office and the State Department of Industrial Relations. And trust me, you don't want to be in court for years, going broke, trying to defend yourself when a few dollars just well spent now in advance could set yourself up legally. So just one more thing before I leave you here, and that is, you're free to decide if this is the new way of doing business for you and or enjoying a better lifestyle. If it's ultimately for you, then it's for you. However, if you're sitting on the fence and or think it's not possible, then I want you to hear this. I fully guarantee your purchase of this Micro Salon System. If you use the system and follow it to the letter and don't get Australian Taxation Office approval, you'll be the first, but I'll give you an absolutely full 100% courteous and prompt refund. So if you're ready, go ahead, click on the button below, and we'll do this thing together. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some pretty cool and super bonuses if you act now. If you grab this program before the countdown timer runs out, you'll get over $1,000 worth of Rent A Chair specific business building systems that I've used to operate my own successful Rent A Chair and Micro Salon. And you'll get those absolutely for free. Plus, I'm also going to throw in a complimentary, absolutely no charge to you, 30-minute coaching call to help you get set up. Now, you don't need it to get set up, but those that I've had these calls with, it has just taken them from zero to hero in a heartbeat. So I usually charge anywhere from $125 to $250 depending on the size of your business. And that's yours if you act now. And if you're wondering why I've done this sort of cheesy scarcity sort of, salesy crap, well, it's because I want to work with those that are truly serious and just get this. Right? If you get it, you get it. But let me assure you, these bonuses won't be there next time you revisit the site if you let this counter clock out. And if you're interested in them, then you'll have to purchase them individually. And that is if I've made them available to do so. So take a look at the frequently asked questions area now in the event that you have some questions. But if you purchase right this minute, I'll immediately drop you into the Micro Salon course. You'll get the $1,000 worth of bonuses, and together we'll go through some quick orientation. You'll then go ahead and watch the video tutorials where I take you through the 5-step process, which can be done in 5 weeks. And you can start turning your regular salon into a money-making micro salon. So I want to welcome you to the clan. If this is something that interests you, click on the button below and I'll see you on the inside. And together we'll get this thing fired up for you. Thanks.